All right, hello everybody and welcome to November's virtual farm visit. I'm joined today by Peter Hancock, our farm manager, and Jeremy Savage, who is the farm consultant, and I'll hand it over to them to tell you what's happening on farm today.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, Peter and I did the farm walk this morning. It's a bit chilly over there, Peter.
Yep, it's just a wee bit cold.
Yeah, actually one update for the public, Peter, is just at the moment we do have a bit of an M-Bova situation on one of the sister farms, and unfortunately visitors can't visit the farm at the moment.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So those of you keen to do the farm walks and things, we just for good biosecurity management, we're unfortunately unable to take visitors on LEDF at the moment, but hopefully once the dust settles, we'll be able to change that. So, Peter, how are we going at the moment? Your productivity?
Yeah, no, October's been sort of a funny month. We sort of started the month with a bit of grass, and then we got that cold snap comes through, and cover really dropped down. So, yeah, cows have been milking quite well though. We were able to sort of hold around that 2.2 for most of October. So, yeah, had a very good month. Just towards the end of October, and just over the last week, they've just dropped below 2.2. So, yeah.
Yeah. And your feed budget at the moment, Peter?
Yep, so still got 555 cows and milk, as you see there. So, yeah, cows, we think we're eating around about 20. We need to grow sort of 70 a day. We seem to be sort of just keeping our head above water than that, sort of 70, 76 a week we have been growing through October. And, yeah, we were low cover sort of at the beginning of October, or the 10th of October there, we're sitting around that 3 cover. And we've managed to get that back up over 2.4 with a good growth. And obviously, we did feed out quite a bit of silage, about 100 a cow for just over 2 weeks. And that allowed us, and kept the longer hour length around 25, 26 day. And now we've right back and we've got just on all grass feeding the cows.
Yeah, great. And certainly quite consistent growth rates the last 2 weeks, haven't they? Sort of once you're recovered, sort of sitting at 70, 73. How much nitrogen is going on at the moment, Peter?
Yeah, so we're just putting on 25 kgs of N behind the cows. That's getting applied twice a week. And, yeah, so paddocks are getting it sort of within sort of 3 days of grazing, which is quite good.
Yeah. And one of the learnings that we had from David Chapman's session at the last focus day was the importance of Peter keeping that round length longer. When Lincoln dropped its nitrogen use from 300 plus to 170, in theory they should have lost 2,500 kilos of dry matter per hectare. They only lost 1,300, so the Peter with the longer round has been able to grow another 1,200 kilos of dry matter a hectare, and that's because the round length is now typically sort of 3 to 4 days longer than what it was under a high stocking rate scenario. So protecting that round length, Peter, is something you're pretty mindful of, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I guess with the tools we've got in the toolbox is sort of lower nitrogen and lower supplement use that we're trying to do, that if we do get into a hole, it's very hard to get out of it. So maintaining that longer round sort of gives it a bit of safety, I guess.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that, Peter, with the how you handled October. So that's your feed wedge this morning. So some longer paddocks you're going to, but that's a pretty well-shaped feed wedge there, Peter.
Yeah, no, we've sort of got very good feed quality at the moment. Obviously, that being tight, those first 2 weeks of October, certainly the cows were getting very good residuals then, which is translated through into having very good quality grass in front of the cows now. Have been doing some pre-graze mowing over the last sort of week or 10 days just to help cows, or make sure we get good residuals for the next round, conscious of the seed head coming through shortly.
And the pastures are in good shape too, aren't they? I mean, you had quite a dry autumn last year where the cover got a bit lower, and you tidied up the farm this spring. So the pastures are quite well tilled out and quite thick at the moment, aren't they?
They're looking very good. They're probably the best I've seen look for a couple of years, actually. So, yeah.
No, I was impressed. So in terms of dealing with that October feed pinch, Peter, I recall coming for a farm walk on the 1st of October, and there was icicles going upwards if that makes sense. And you had permafrost on the farm with the sprinklers, as we did right across Canterbury with pivots freezing. That knocked your growth rate for a 6, didn't it?
It really did. We were looking very good before that. We'd only fed around about 55 a cow through the whole up till then, dry matters a cow. But then, yeah, that's really hurt us. It's sort of like a -5, -7 degree frost, and obviously we were very dry because we hadn't had any rain, and we were irrigating because soil moisture was quite low. So yeah, it did really hurt us. It took probably 10 days to recover from that.
So we've got the numbers there, Peter. Your cover bottomed out at 2,200. Your growth rate on pasture coach 48, but you fed quite a bit of silage per cow. Talk us through why you fed so much silage.
Just mindful of getting the round length out. Sort of, we could have gone on a quicker round and fed less silage per day, but I think we would have been feeding it for longer to get back up to cover that we needed. So just made a decision to feed. We had some very good quality silage that didn't seem to, that was actually made only about a week to 10 days earlier than when we fed it out, and it was very high quality silage, so we're able to put good quality feed in front of them and just get that round length back out again straight away.
Yeah. And your pre-grazings, that one, they bottomed out at 2,900, but what was really noticeable was how fast you bounced as soon as those soil conditions came right, the soil temperature came back up. The farm bounced out pretty fast, didn't it?
It did, yep.
And just highlights the importance of Peter's management around just really protecting that slightly longer round length. It's tending to go fast at times when you think you should be growing 70 a day, but if your farm covers drop too far and pre-grazings drop too low, then we're just not able to get yourself out of it. And as Peter quite rightly pointed out, you end up feeding supplement for even longer and using more supplement as well. So just looking after the farm and looking after that potential growth rate. That's what Peter's done really well through October.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's in the monitoring, so just, keeping a good eye on it and knowing where you are really helps.
So that's your 12th of October feed wedge there, Peter. So sort of a good classic feed wedge, but just no holes in it, but just too short, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably the cows probably weren't quite finding as much as what we were with the plate meter at that time. So, they were going through them a wee bit quick.
Yeah, super. So grazing rules for this month, Peter, coming up. How you're managing it. So we talked about this sort of earlier today. Our demand, hopefully we're going to be doing 2.1, sitting at 20 kilos a cow. The intakes will stay the same as the quality drops off. Demand is 67. Fastest round, and you won't stay there for long, Peter, from what you were just saying, would be a 21, 22 day round, so 3,000 pre-grazing. Longest round, 2,500, which is sort of 3,300 pre-grazing. So bouncing in between those two covers, that looks about right, Peter?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a bit scary getting down to 21 days, but hopefully sort of, sweet spots around that 20, 24, 25 days if we can hold it.
Yeah. So because you're bouncing more on those top ends of those covers in terms of getting those growth rates, you're mowing. You've currently mown was a wee bit in the last week, 70% of what you've used the last week.
Sorry, I lost you there for a minute.
So you're using mowing to keep those intakes up and keep the cows going up. So what's your management around that, Peter?
Yeah, it's just the feed is very good quality at the moment, like we've been saying, and the cows would probably clean it up reasonably well, but it's just a good opportunity to pre-graze mow some in front of the cows, and just basically helping to get to residuals really quickly, or the mower gets to residuals, and then just setting it up for the next round, really. So quite conscious of the feed quality going forward, the seed head coming through, and just trying to get a good quality going forward for the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I was doing the numbers with a client the other day, looking at the impact of staying with very long covers and higher growth rates. And in their case, it was going to cost them about $200 a day to mow. But if we could lift our growth rates by 5 kilos a day, that was worth about $600 in grain for that farm as well. So sure, there is a cost of mowing, but how you're managing it, Peter, is that mowing is helping you and keeping your round length longer, is helping you getting higher growth rates as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. We don't mow a lot. We probably only mow sort of 10% of what we graze in a season. So yeah, it seems like a lot when we're doing it this time of year, but it doesn't actually equate to too much.
Yeah, well, last year you mowed about 80% of the farm in the season. So
Yep.
that was, at least wasn't,
Yes. Yep. Remember that. Yep.
So, cool.
And there's no real recipe for it. It sort of seems to change each season. It just depends how the cows are achieving residuals and yeah. So it's just sort of monitoring it once again.
Yeah. And at the moment, you've got seed head coming through. So the seed head, the mower's taking the seed head off by about a centimetre, 2 centimetres at the moment. So once that seed head's taken off by the mower, hopefully we get vegetative growth back. Mating, Peter, how's that going?
Yeah, no, it's going extremely well actually. So we've submitted 405 cows in 15 days, so averaging about 27 a day. To get 90% of the herd submitted in 3 weeks, we need to be on target for 24 days, so just slightly ahead of that. We did some pre-mating heats, so we painted the herd sort of 5 weeks out from planned start of mating, and identified some non-cyclists sort of day before mating. Other years we've got the vet in and scanned those cows. This year we just tried a PG shot on them before we scan them. And the 41 that we did a PG injection on, we managed to get 38 of them have cycled and been mated out of that lot. So that was quite a good success rate with that first PG shot. We did a second lot of PG just after sort of 10 days of mating. Just some cows that I thought had a pre-mating heat that didn't come on within the 21 days. I gave them a jab on day 10, and we managed to get 27 of them, so out of 39 that were identified as not cycling. So, yeah, it's been quite good. And overall, we've only had the vet look at 21 cows, which we did on last Thursday. And, yeah, they've had I've already shot on day 1, and they're due to get a PG shot tomorrow. So we'll see how we do with those.
Yep, looking promising, but as you quite rightly pointed out today, the fat lady doesn't seem to get that scanning result. So that's the frustration, isn't it? Yeah, and just finishing off with your calves, how's that? You're just tightening those up at the moment?
Yeah, so we've been weighing them sort of for the last sort of month and weaning them off as they're reaching sort of around that 75 kgs off milk powder and just onto nice short high quality grass and grain. And we've only had 30 on milk for the last 2 weeks, and they're actually getting the last day of their milk powder tomorrow. And yeah, no, they're going quite well. Thursday this week we're going to bring them all in. Anything that's sort of around that 100 k's will be reduced on the grain for a week or two, and then just on all grass. And ones that are a bit slower and a bit further behind will stay on grain for another sort of 10 days, 2 weeks, and then we'll bring them back and weigh them, and just yeah, move them on like that.
I mean, I was genuinely surprised this morning when I was catching up with Peter and doing them, typing up the notes for this in terms of how light you wean on, but you always nail those weights, Peter. So, but the key probably part of the success of this is having a really good, well set up calf block, isn't it? So you can limit their grass intake and make sure they're eating really good rates of meal as well.
Yeah. So we're targeting to have them at 100 kg around the 1st of December. So some of these calves, 75 kg sort of at the beginning of October. So they've got plenty of time to, get to the target weights.
Yeah. And can't argue with the results. When those animals come in 80 months later, you know your target. So yeah, no, all good. But works well.
Yep.
Any questions come in there, Claire?
No questions have come in. So yeah.
Yeah.
If you're happy, we'll wrap it up.
Yep, super. Thanks,
Cool.
Peter.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. And yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks on November 17th for our virtual webinar, which will be focusing on nutrient budgets and will be hosted by Aaron Hutton. So thanks, Peter. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Bye.